Welcome back, everyone. 14 after the hour, and today in Behind the Headlines, we take a look at an article from Jacob Sullum of Reason Magazine. Does legalization make marijuana detecting dogs obsolete? This is something we first reported on when Colorado and Washington legalized marijuana, and we started to wonder what good is a marijuana sniffing dog. Throughout those campaigns and the campaigns in 2014, I reminded marijuana consumers throughout the country that regardless if we're legalizing an ounce, 8 ounces, or even a gram of marijuana for personal consumption, one of the biggest takeaways from marijuana legalization is ending the contraband nature of marijuana, specifically with respect to the probable cause generated by a drug-sniffing dog. Now, we've reported on drug-sniffing dogs many times. We've spoken to the experts in this field, and we've reviewed many of the studies. A famous study showing how much drug-sniffing dogs are alerting based on their owner's subconscious cues. We reported on a story where teams of dogs were run through 4 rooms. A room could have either a red card indicating that contraband was present, or the room could have tennis balls and sausages, something dogs would like, or the room could have both of those things, or the room could have neither of those things. Those were the 4 combinations. And they found overwhelmingly the rooms that had the red cards in them, where the owner would think there were drugs in that room, had many, many more alerts than the rooms that did not have red cards. So we know that the drug dog owners can get them to alert based on their subconscious or even conscious cues. And we found that the reliability of drug sniffing dogs is well below what we would consider to be constitutional when it comes to accuracy. When a drug sniffing dog is run around the outside of a car, it is about 60% accurate. That is about 40% of the time they find no drugs in that car. And they're far less accurate once the dog is run around the inside of a car. Dogs will alert 2 out of 3 times when no drugs are actually found. But of course, the purpose of the drug dog alert is not necessarily to find drugs. It's the key that unlocks the 4th and 5th Amendment protections that people have against unreasonable seizures. Now, Jacob Sullum writes about this and explains how a drug dog is trained to smell a substance and upon that either scratch, bark, or sit down, make some sort of alert. But a dog is a binary object when it comes to those sorts of determinations. It can either detect it or not. It can't tell you which drug it has detected, nor can it tell you how much of that drug can be detected. Now, that used to not matter because any amount of marijuana, even a single speck of marijuana, was enough to indicate someone was breaking the law. Possession of any amount was completely illegal. But now, in Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and Alaska, where you're going to be allowed to carry around an ounce of marijuana on your person, that dog alerting for marijuana is no longer a probable cause to indicate any crime has taken place. And furthermore, that alert for marijuana, if the suspect might be carrying other drugs, that could lead to those other drugs being dismissed as evidence illegally gained by the dog. For example, suppose you're carrying an ounce of marijuana and a 1/4 ounce of mushrooms, and the drug dog alerts, the cops get those substances, your bag of weed, your bag of mushrooms, and the bag of weed's legal, but the mushrooms are still Schedule 1, and they take you to court over that. A good defense lawyer will be able to get that thrown out of court because the evidence of the mushrooms is what they call the fruit of the poisonous tree, the fruit of the poison tree. The idea that you cannot use any of the evidence that you gain from an illegal search. And when that dog alerted, there's no way to tell the dog was alerting to mushrooms that are illegal versus weed that is legal. So that's where we're at right now, constitutionally speaking. Now, the drug dog sniffs themselves are not a search. There's been cases at the Supreme Court that have decided this, that all that a drug dog sniff does is reveal the presence of contraband. It doesn't tell anything else about you. It doesn't tell your social security number, doesn't show you naked. It's not a search in the typical sense because the only thing it can detect is crime, not anything personal. But now that marijuana possession is no longer a crime, that search is no longer a probable cause. In Washington and in Seattle, the Washington State Patrol and the Seattle Police Department soon began retiring their drug dogs who had been trained for marijuana, because it's almost impossible to retrain a dog to not sniff something that it's already been trained to sniff. It can be done, but it's very expensive, and getting a new dog is about the same expense, about $15,000 it costs in training, in time and resources to be able to get those dogs to the level that they need to be. So I believe what we're going to see through legalization in this country, especially up here in the Pacific Northwest, is an end to marijuana sniffing dogs. Now, they might have some limited use, being able to sniff marijuana on minors. That's, minors can't possess marijuana. That's still illegal. Being able to use dogs to run through schools for searches, because those are all minors. Maybe there might be those limited uses. But folks, the era of the pot sniffing dope dog is coming to an end.